So now, after you finish the autorefractor, if you need to do the visual field, and on a lot of patients you will need to do the visual field as a screening, we're going to move on to this. This is a visual field. It's actually called an Oculus visual field instrument. It's going to screen for issues with the patient's side vision, peripheral vision. So what I tell patients is this instrument is going to check your side vision instead of peripheral vision. Just like everything else, we have to clean first. So we're going to clean the instrument, and I could just essentially clean everything in this room when I get here at once instead of cleaning right before every test. So I'm just going to take my alcohol and I'm just wiping off the areas that are going to touch the patient's face, okay? And their body. With COVID, we're just a little bit more diligent. We got to wipe off the joystick as well because this is what the patient's going to use. So I'm going to kind of wipe this handle off thoroughly. And we already wiped the forehead rest as well. Okay, so you have left and right, and so we'll talk about that in just a second with how we need to position this to get the patients in there properly. When we are ready to set up the patient, we have to do this monocularly. Patients need to be patched. We need one eye that's going to be covered. If the patient wears contacts, they can leave their contacts in. If the patients wear glasses, the glasses need to come off. They cannot use their glasses for this test, okay? And I missed. So with our patch, we're going to create a barrier in between the patch because we can't clean this so much. So we're going to fold the tissue up so that we can put this in between the patient's face and the patch, okay? So we need to make sure that when we fold this, it's not too bulky and it doesn't extend out beyond this because then it's going to block their vision. So we need to make sure that we've done that, and we cover the left eye first because we checked the right eye. So we just place it, and the patient's going to help us around, and we want to make sure that when we put it on, right, that we have this corner part of the eye covered as well because we don't want them peeking from that eye. Okay, so we have to make sure that it is blocked, and the tissue kind of helps with that. It's a barrier, but it also helps block what they're able to see out of that side. Okay, so we want to make sure that we don't have it pushing down on that right eye either. So what we tell the patient once we get them aligned. First, let's get them aligned. We have to look at our patient's height, and what you should know is that this is adjustable. All I'm doing is pushing this up and down. And this is my height adjustment for this instrument, okay? So when I'm ready, I'll get her pretty close to being aligned there. But before I do that, I want to get her registered in the computer. So on this little instrument panel, we need to hit new patient because she's a new patient. If she was a previous patient, then you just want to search for the patients by using this knob and finding the patients on the list. So she's a new patient, so I'm going to hit the button next to new patient. So I have to enter the patient's name. So there's a little alphabet bar here, and you got to just turn until you hit the letter that you need. And then you hit like a left mouse, right? So I did L-A-B, and we're just going to do that. And then we're going to hit the arrows to go down because now I'm going to do first name. And so we're going to hit G-A-B. That's easiest. I'm sorry, Miss Patient. And our date of birth, we're going to say 0507. I don't know, I'm making something up. And then 1978. Let's go with that. I'm sure she's happy about that. All right, so once I do that, each time I needed to go to a new line, I went to the down arrow to get me to the next line. Once I've done that, it says, once I've gone through last name, first name, and date of birth, then it says start new patient, and you want to select yes, and that's the left button here on the side. So my patient is now in blue that I've added. and so I'm ready to start the exam, okay? So I'm gonna go to start, and there's a button next to start. I gotta find the exam that I wanna perform. So I'm gonna go to program by turning this knob. This is like my little mouse button of sorts. So I'm gonna go on the top bar to select program, hit the left button, and I'm gonna scroll down to screening, hit the left button, and it says start program screening which eye, and it has right highlighted, so I hit the left button. So it says start right eye examination. I'm not gonna hit start yet because I need to get my patient into position. I just didn't want my patient sitting in there too long while I did all of that. So we're gonna go back, but we're ready to start here. So we'll go back and we'll make sure the patient is aligned. I'm gonna bring this up, and I'm using the patient's right eye. If the patient needs a reading prescription, you will need to add trial lenses to this. This patient doesn't need a reading prescription, so I'm not adding trial lenses. But you will need to add trial lenses to this if the patient needs a reading prescription. So let's go ahead and we're gonna turn the patient's head a little bit to the left and have the patient look inside. I'm gonna bring this down a bit, I think. Okay, and I want her to look inside, and I'm gonna give her this button, this joystick, and that's her remote. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking, there's a camera on the screen, and I need to watch the patient's eye. So I need to see where her eye is, and her eye needs to be in the center of this red square, okay? So I need to make an adjustment. And so I'm gonna use this to look at where the patient is. And I'm gonna tell her she's looking in the center of a star. Okay, and can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so open up nice and big, so I can check her pupil, open up wide. There we go. So once she opens wide, I can see that her pupil's there. You just can't see it with certain eyes that aren't certain apertures that aren't super large. So she's mostly centered. I'm gonna get her a little bit more centered. Okay, and open up nice and big for me. Open it wide. Okay, so I'm just checking her pupil, that her pupil's there. And I'm telling her to look in the center of the diamonds. So once I've done that, if my patient is positioned, then I'm gonna tell her, Miss Patient, and we're gonna check your side vision. You're gonna see lights appear all over. Sometimes they'll be faint, sometimes they'll be dark. Whenever you see something flicker, don't look at them. I need you to look in the center of that diamond the whole time. Don't look anywhere else. If you see something flash and flicker, it may be in the center, it may be off to the sides. If you see it flicker, I need you to press that button and release it, okay? So, don't look around, I'm right here. This will just take a couple minutes. Okay, so I want to give the patient instructions. They need to look in the center of the diamond the whole time. They need to not follow the lights, okay? So once I'm ready to start, I hit start and I make sure, because I can see it flashing, that the patient knows that it started. We've begun this, Miss Patient, so if you see anything flickering, it starts in the middle. Don't forget that. Click your button, okay?
So click now?
Yeah, So what this did, because she didn't click after it got started, is like, okay, do you want to repeat this? So you have to make sure that the patient knows, hey, we've started, go ahead and click your button if you see something. They may not see it, and that's okay, but you have to confirm, did they see it or not? So we're gonna repeat it. So remember, it's gonna start in the center. So when it starts, go ahead and click your button. We're starting now. Okay, so I'm telling her we're starting, and now I hear her clicking. I know that she's responding. I see it flash, and I hear her click, so I know she's going. I have to, while I am standing here as the examiner, I need to watch her eye. I need to make sure that her eye is not moving all over and looking at these looking at the flickers that are happening. I see my test points showing up on the screen. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm standing here the whole time and I'm watching. If she holds down the button, it will pause, press it down and hold it. It's going to pause it. So if you see that, that's because the patient has pressed down the button. Okay, release it. So you make sure that they're okay. Okay, so that's one way to pause the test. So this is going to go through, if she looks straight the whole time, this is only going to take a couple minutes, literally. Okay, so watch them, remind them, hey, you're almost finished, you're doing a great job. Do those things while they're testing. And then once they finish, we need to go to the left eye. So we're gonna let this right eye finish, but we're not gonna go through the complete left eye. So we're just gonna keep watching. You're almost finished, Miss Patient. You're doing a great job. So I'm making sure, like I said, that I'm encouraging her throughout, that she's not looking all over, okay? And so there it says it's all finished. It says save examination. So I'm gonna hit the left button to hit save. And then what I'm gonna do is go over to examination. I'm gonna go down to start. And then it's asking me right eye, but no, hold on, we need to change eyes. So we're gonna go back to screening and then left eye, excuse me. So screening, from program, you go down to screening and then you go over to left eye. And it's like start left eye examination and you would hit start, but before we hit start, we're gonna move and change our patch to the patient's left eye. Okay, and so once the patient's patch gets moved over, I'm just gonna confirm, do I have this eye in the area by the nose completely covered? Okay, and I can't have this down too far in front because I need her line of sight to not be hindered by this patch or by the tissue. So I need to make sure that we have clear line of sight here without this protruding out too far. Okay? All right, Miss Patient, so let's go ahead and turn your nose slightly towards me and look inside. Look inside and find that diamond just like before. And we're gonna lift that up a little bit here so that it's not pressing down on the brow. And so I'm gonna look at my patient and her pupil is way high, right? So I'm gonna make an adjustment here because I need to bring her down a smidge. Okay, and there we go. Okay, open wide. Open big, let me see her eye. Okay, so she's a little bit off to the corner. So I'm going to adjust it a little bit more. Okay, and open big. I'm still not happy with that, so let's see. So it says start left eye examination, and what I did is I checked myself on the monitor here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. And I'm gonna tell Miss Patient, okay, go ahead and start. I'm gonna bring her down a smidge more. Down a little bit more. There we go. All right, so she's starting. I know she's starting because I hear that she's starting. Okay, and so she's clicking. And if I need to make adjustments, I'm just gonna kind of do that. If she moves a little bit, I'm just gonna adjust her a smidge. And I'm just watching her perform, doing the same things. And so once she finishes, then we will go ahead and print the results. So we're gonna stop because we don't need to go through the whole left eye for this example. But you will proceed through the whole thing, okay? So I'm gonna pause this. And so that's hitting the right button is what I did to pause it. So she can pause it by holding down the joystick. I can pause it by hitting the right button on here. So I'm gonna have the patient sit back. So if we were completely working through, you would have her sit back after you finished. But I paused it because for time purposes with this instructional video. Okay, so it says quit examination and I'm just gonna quit, but you would hit save. So again, that's how that would work. You would hit save and then we would go ahead and print out our results. So from examination, I'm gonna go to print. It says print examination. And so it's gonna print out the left eye because that was the last eye that we did. And then we'll just have to go back to print the right one. Okay, so we have the left one, and then I'm gonna go back in order to get the right eye. So I'll have to go to load. And then it pulls up the two that we did, right and left eye. So I'm gonna go to right, and then I'm gonna go to print. And so I print out the right and the left. Okay, so once you have printed out the right and the left eyes, then you're good to go. You can exit out by going to go back to new patient and you'll get back to the home screen. And so that's how we use the Oculus Easyfield. So once you're finished with that, you're ready to go on to the next test.